The world is saved. The living room's dark, save for light being cast from the big TV screen and the imminent sunrise that's teasing the one starry sky with whispers of morning.
Hey, George.
Hey, Lions, how's it going?
It's going,
Rampage!
I was going to say, I felt good because I just came off of a rampage, or, I'm going on to a rampage. Tomorrow I might rampage. There's no way to just, casually refer to a rampage. It's not a thing you can just be like, I might rampage later.
Yeah, it's not something you add to a to-do list. Wake up, have coffee, rampage. 10 rampage 10 to 10:30, 10:31. Sit at desk, answer emails.
There's an art house movie somewhere right now struggling to get Kickstarter funding for a boring monster, like a monster who also has a 9-to-5 job for some reason.
Well, and I think that they would have to name that movie Terms of Enrampagement.
I
wish I could say
I can say with complete honesty that I did not see that coming.
that is unfortunately an Archer quote. So,
I
know, right? No,
I appreciate your honesty.
But yes, we played Rampage for this particular game. So what are your nostalgia?
We played the NES Rampage.
Yes,
which is important for a couple reasons we're going to get into a lot more depth on. But if you are picturing the arcade game or the PlayStation remake, or I think the later PlayStation remake, because I think they did 2 sequels maybe, make sure you are imagining the NES game, because that's what we did. Which I was poring over this one, what my nostalgia experience was, because you remember old video game commercials where it would because people didn't know what home consoles were, so it would show a kid putting the game in to the console, and then terrible visual effects where they were whoa, and they're being blown away, playing. That's kind of how I remember playing this game. I have crystal clear memories of playing it, and I can even kind of picture the room I'm in, but I can't identify the room I'm in, and I can't see the faces of anyone in the room with me. So my memories of this game are just a vague video game commercial. I have nothing concrete to sink my gorilla teeth into. It's kind of a weird feeling to be why is this so spotty? But that's all I got. I know I played it, and I'm pretty sure I played it real early, before we left New England early. So when I was under 5.
Yeah, so that being, the just some other information, if I could get from you, mother's maiden name, if I would.
Yeah, you just want to start. Would you also like to know the first school I went to and
I would
the color and make of my first car?
I'd like to know your wedding colors. Yeah. Yeah, and so actually, what you just described to me, and I love you like a brother. I'm really concerned that your brain may have planted that memory for you, and you may not have played this game, because that all of those have the hallmarks of your brain going back and making stuff up, because it's everything else about it is fuzzy, but you do know but I definitely played this. It's did you watch that commercial, and then your brain took that commercial, and then just the idea that you should have played this game and just slumped them together and said this is probably right. This is your memory of it now.
Oh yeah. No, you want me to come to your side of the courtroom and argue your case, because I can actually add way more fuel to these are fabricated memory fires, because I know that I played the arcade cabinet as an adult in adult arcades or bars that have old arcade games in them. So not only am I totally unable to pin down where and when I played it as a child, I can confirm that I played it as an adult with way more confidence, which lends a lot more credence to the you never played this as a kid, your brain is just fabricating those memories. But I'm sure enough that I would confidently say yes, I played this as a kid, but It's kind of a Bart and Lisa, as long as you have no follow-up questions situation.
Yeah, no, I mean, so for me personally, I never played this on the NES. Like, I didn't own it, anything like that. I only played this as a kid in arcades.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, and I remember, and mine is also a little vague, but I remember the arcades. I remember more. So, like, higher percent chance my brain isn't just feeding me lies. Or is it? But I remember because, like, I remember, like, feeding like 1 or 2 quarters into it and like playing this game like really briefly, because it's, as we'll get into, it just eats quarters, right? So I remember like being like, oh man, this is really cool. I get to be like a lizard running around smashing giant things like Godzilla. All right, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, you know, going and spending my quarters on actually the Simpsons video game, which I played a lot.
Heck yes.
Yeah. So yes, that is my nostalgia experience for this. And so, as we had discussed, because we did a little back and forth before the show, you know, like
the industry term would be a pre-show. We were discussing in the pre-show.
Yes, in the green room. We were basically just talking about, like, and you know, spoilers ahead for this episode, but is that there's just not a lot to this game, like less so than some of the other ones we played that have been very bare bones, and they made some mechanical choices that actually took even more away from it. So
how can we reduce this to its constituent atoms? No, we're going for quarks. Like, they just tore it all down.
Yep. Baby loves quarks. But anyway, so we're gonna kind of change the layout of this episode a little bit. So basically, you know, there are we both, you know, subscribe to the show Extra Credits, which, if anybody, you know, hasn't watched that, go. It's a YouTube channel. They are incredibly erudite people that, you know video games inside and out. And they did a presentation on a paper about 8 core aesthetics of play. And basically, you know, with some of the changes that they made to this, they completely removed the original aesthetic. And so we were just kind of like, well, what are we going to talk about? So we were like, well, what we're going to try this time is going through each of the different 8 and discussing whether or not this game successfully delivers on that. And so the first one is sense pleasure, which very nicely falls into our normal structure of talking about visuals and audio first. But the question would be, does this deliver on sense pleasure?
Not really. So no, and here's why no. You have a lot more memories of playing the arcade cabinet, and when I was playing this, I was kind of asking myself, like, okay, what's happening here? Like, why is what's happening to me? And so I went to look it up online, and I was like, okay, Rampage, only results about the movie. And I was like, ah, damn it. Okay, Rampage game, only results about the remake. Ah, damn it. Original Rampage game, because I had forgotten for a minute that it was an arcade cabinet before it came to home consoles, like most games of this era. I think the first few times that happened, I was like, oh, right. But now it's just like, yeah, you need to remember this, you idiot. So it was an arcade cabinet, and arcade cabinets at that time in history were so much more powerful than home consoles, like many, many times more powerful. And I literally spent 15 minutes just confirming that the screenshots I was seeing of the arcade game were actually what the arcade game looked like, because it looked really nice. Like, it looked really nice, not even just for a game of the time. Like, it just looks nice. Like, it is a well-rendered game because it was on a huge custom screen designed for that arcade cabinet with powerful hardware designed for this game. And then you look at the NES one, which is the one we're actually talking about, and, like, everything is just muddy and blocky, and it's just not very pleasant to look at because everything looks unfinished. And that is not fun when there is only one screen and there is only one set of visuals, and that is all you see for the entire length of time you play this game. So to say that it, whether or not it delivers on like a visual sensory pleasure is like a hard no, with, I'm going to say, like 3 really minor exceptions. The animation of eating people, which you do a fair amount because that's one of the ways you get health back and you get points. That is actually really satisfying. Like the George or Lizzie like turns to the camera and like chews them to death, like while they're kind of staring you down, like you made this happen. That's cool. The look of disgust if you accidentally grab a toilet and you spit out the water, like that's pretty lovingly animated. And then the way you look when you kind of get electrocuted, and there's like the little shock animation. But the shock animation is like, you don't really want to see that because it means you're dying, right? The eating people animation you do see a lot, and that is a good animation, but it doesn't like make up for the rest of the boring animation. It kind of like shines a light on them, right? So having this like one kind of lovingly crafted little animation just makes you go like, oh, everything else is so mundane, right? It's just it's not unpleasant to look at, but it's certainly not pleasant. Like it's just
Yeah, no, and actually I would say on a scale of like 1 to 10, 5 being completely neutral, right? I'd say like this is kind of like a 4 or like a 3.5, because a lot of it, and I kind of get why they did it to a degree, but like all of the buildings are, like bright and like different colored, which is fine, but they're all like hard primary colors, and so because of that, like, when you have like just like this like hard red against hard green against hard like whatever, it makes it feel less like a building, and kind of pulls you out of like the experience,
Yeah, it's more just shapes of colors.
Yeah, and so like I'm like, these seem less like buildings and more like obstacles,
Yeah. Which
and so
arguably, but I take your meaning.
Yeah. I would say that definitely no. I mean, like, and I think that kind of like what you're hitting on is the animations are like pretty decent. Like also for like punching, which you do a fair amount of, like
very satisfying.
Yeah, that feels satisfying. Like especially when you time it right and you punch a helicopter out of the air, that's pretty sweet. Also the other thing that I loved was whenever I would like punch, and a person would like appear in the window like as I was punching. So instead of punching, I just snatched and ate him. I was just kind of like, man, I was just, like I was just trying to break your building, but instead I got to eat you, like
surprise.
So I definitely feel that it did not visually, it's not stunning or like satisfying, and it doesn't really do anything with its visual. So if we're discussing it as a core aesthetic, it does not do anything with its visuals that would make me want to play this game. Like I would not play this game for the visuals. Like it's not something like oh shoot, I'm trying to think of the name of it, but like where the colors are vibrant, or like DDR, or even even Guitar Hero, which actually delivers on different core aesthetics, but like those visuals can, like I'll play that just because like it looks really awesome. Like when you hit that guitar, just in the right way, and then everything like lights up, and it feeds your brain that happy feeling, none of that.
And I even like of like this generation console, cartridge console generation, like I just recently encouraged a friend to play Final Fantasy VI or American 3 if you're lame, for the first time, because she'd never played it before, and she was telling me about it, and I was like looking up some stuff and like looking at parts of the game that she was at, and I was just like, oh my god, this game is so beautiful. Like it's so beautiful. Like every sprite is just beautifully rendered. Every building, every background, every mountain, every piece of artwork, every like magic animation. Like I could sit and just watch someone else play Final Fantasy or watch YouTube videos of Final Fantasy VI because it's just so visually stunning. And the graphics are better, but I mean, it's only one console generation later, right? It's not like we're comparing it to like The Last of Us, right? So it's,
Right.
I think it's fair to say that you can have low res graphics that are still really stunning and really visually satisfying. I mean, God, even Tetris, because like
Yep.
everything fits together so nice and tight and it feels like very mechanical and precise. Like, I wouldn't go to that game just for the visuals, but the visuals are very enticing and they're like good, solid visuals. The same with the audio, like, you know, the Final Fantasies, for example, have like this amazing, like, you just like close your eyes and you just imagine the music and it's just good and it just like washes over you and it's great. And this game decided to have one song that goes with one visual in the background, and it's just, it's not only is it repetitive, but it's not on theme. So like there's a high cognitive dissonance where you're like, I'm destroying all these buildings and it's like boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. You're like, what is this? Like, is
Yeah,
this
it
just
sounds
a
like
chore?
this is, yeah, it sounds like they're just like kind of sauntering into work and then decided to destroy buildings on their way in. You know, like it's the it's not even quite as upbeat. But I was just thinking about in Family Guy when Peter Griffin makes the wish to have like his life have a soundtrack. You know, and it's like
Yes.
"Da-na-na-na-na," riding on a bus. You know,
Yeah.
like it's just it's very the music. I mean, actually, the one note I had for audio was like there's just nothing. There's like it's almost devoid, and it's so banal that I actually had to like crank the volume up on my TV to even hear it, to the point where the sound effects, what little of them they were abrasive, just so that way I could hear the music. You know,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's certainly not under a heading I would refer to as pleasurable. It's like
no,
there are sounds, there is audio, and I imagine in like a noisy arcade you probably cared a lot less, but like this is the NES cartridge. I'm in my home sitting on my floor eating cereal directly out of the box because that way it doesn't get all soggy in a bowl of milk. And it's
okay,
just
wait.
like I'd like to hear
I
something.
have to know. When given the option, though, will you eat cereal in milk, or do you always eat it dry?
I will eat certain cereals in milk, but given the option, there are cereals that I would never put in milk. And
Okay.
and anyone who drinks the milk at the bottom of their cereal bowl is a monster. And I don't
Okay.
mean like a fun rampage monster. I mean like a Mussolini kind.
Gotcha. Well, only us monsters here. No, because this is something that Megan and I get into it about, because she never drinks her cereal or puts milk in cereal, and I, like I will eat cereal dry, but like I generally go for the milk, and I forgot what I said recently. I said like, oh yeah, well like just can you pick up some milk? She's like, why? I'm like, well I want to have cereal. She's like, why do you need milk for cereal? I'm like, oh that's right, you eat it dry like an animal.
So I challenge your side story with a side story of my own,
Excellent.
which is when I was a kid, I would put the amount of milk into my cereal that a person would put if they were planning to drink it at the end, but I didn't. I just wanted milk in my cereal because I do like the way it tastes, so that I would eat it really fast so that it wouldn't get soggy and then throw the milk away. And you can imagine in my like middle class upbringing the response that generated from my father.
Yeah, no, I can hear your father now. Like, really,
Yeah. So the one thing I did do is like if I do eat cereal with milk now, I basically put so little milk that I don't feel like I'm wasting it at the end, which I think is a fair compromise.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's legit. And that does and that sensory pleasure of eating the cereal brings us back in.
Right back.
Yeah. Easy segue. But one of the notes I did have was basically another disappointment for the sound, and that's why it does not deliver on sense pleasure, is not only is there like no real music to per se, there's like the barest of bones sound effects, and none of them enhance gameplay. Like, and by
Yeah,
what,
not
what I mean
really.
is like there's no information that's delivered through sound. There's all of the sounds are just like if you punch something, it makes a sound effect. If somebody hits you with something, it makes a sound effect. That's pretty much it. I don't I
There's a
think like
there's a couple things that I think the sound would have been more useful on an arcade cabinet because the arcade cabinet screen was considerably larger and most of your attention is focused on the character. And so if like you hear the helicopter noise, that might make your eyes like dart up and be like, "Oh, there's a helicopter coming. I want to move so that it doesn't like get directly overhead and drop a bomb on me," right? So like in the right situation, I think the audio would have informed you in a way that just visuals would have been too sluggish or too confusing. But again, like we played the NES version on purpose because that's the one we played mostly is like you shrink that down, you take away all of the utility that the sound was providing, and now you just have boring, kind of redundant sound effects.
right. So moral of that story is it 100% does not. This is not a sense pleasure game,
No.
right? So, so then the next one on the list is fantasy. So, fantasy is it allows you to step into a role. Like examples of this would be like Call of Duty. Most RPGs, at least in some capacity, try to deliver on this. So, Mass Effect. Things like that. Where Mass Effect maybe a little bit less, but like it's something where
Well, even like
you
Grand Theft Auto, like Madden, like any
Yeah.
any game where they're saying you're not watching this story or directing this story, like you are living it. You are Nico Bellic. You are, Madden, right? Like you are actually supposed to be inhabiting this person and living out this experience.
Right. It's specifically like a role based experience. So does it try to, or does it deliver on fantasy?
So short answer, what is it? Short answer, yes with an if. Long answer, no with a but. so it's. I think that is what they're going for, right? Because it's like you can be King Kong. I mean, a legally safe, different monster from King Kong. You can be not Godzilla, right?
Definitely not Godzilla.
Not even close.
Nope.
Exactly close. So you can be these monsters and you can go and like smash things and like that's kind of a cool thing to deliver on. And especially when you think like this time in history, that to look at movies that were successful and be like, oh, we can give the player that experience. Like instead of a movie like Godzilla or King Kong, which is kind of like a horror movie because you are supposed to be empathizing with the humans who are terrified for their lives. It's like through video games, we can actually flip that and make the player empathize with the monster. Wouldn't that be
about
neat?
Empowerment.
Yeah, and it's totally neat. Like it is a fun idea and mechanic. The if on the end of that, and stop me if this isn't the place you want to talk about this, but because they pulled this out of the arcade and into the home console, they were like, okay, well, we'll just take away quarters. And now you can, instead of instituting like a live system or a continue system or something, they were like, just press A to keep playing, and you just keep pressing A and you can keep playing. So it takes some of the fantasy out of it because it's like, oh, I'm not a monster trying to wreck the city before I'm stopped. I'm an unstoppable monster. Like I don't that fantasy is less fun because it's just like, oh, so I'll just win eventually.
Well, and I think that so I think that yes, this game is trying to deliver on fantasy. I think that that's one of the core aesthetics that they, if the developers were thinking of it in this framework, which I'm confident that they weren't, but let's assume that they were worth their salt and were. I think that this is one that
we should figure out if the research paper that this framework is based on actually may have come after this. I don't remember.
Quite possibly. But so I think that, and honestly, for me personally, I don't really think that removing the coin op and just making it so you can press A, I think that it does impact fantasy a little bit. And I think I think the reason why I don't think it impacts it dramatically, I think it definitely impacts challenge, which is what a lot of games in this time were based off of, and it completely drops that out. But I don't really, because I think that like for some people, I think that you're correct, where it's just kind of like, oh well, I'm not, like a a monster that, you know, could possibly be stopped. I am an invincible god of destruction, right? but for some people that may actually enhance the fantasy a little bit to where, you know, like they are to a degree invincible, you know. Like I said, like I think like either way, you know, I think it would really depend on the individual. But I think that honestly, as for does it deliver on fantasy, I think that it does personally, just because I remember when I was younger, that's why you played this game, you know, is because you wanted to, like you said, be King Kong, go around, knock down buildings, made you feel awesome, made you feel, you know, made you feel like King Kong. And then you stopped and you went and did something else. I think that it delivers on that. I just think that it does not do it sustainably, you know, where in that, like,
yeah, there isn't enough variety to make you want to continue to indulge in the fantasy.
correct. Like once you've destroyed a city, it's just like, okay, now that exact same thing again, that exact same thing. So there's no depth to the fantasy, you know, there's nothing else enhancing this, this core aesthetic, right? Because because like obviously, like you can have games deliver on any of these, and some games that are super popular deliver on many of them, you know. But that being said, like there's nothing enhancing the fantasy like narrative, you know. There's no narrative backing this up. There's no you know, like competition. There's no fellowship. There's nothing else like sustaining that. So like once that bottle rocket's been fired, and you're like, yeah. Ooh, and then it's just kind of it. So I enjoyed the fantasy for like the first 5 minutes until I was just kind of like, oh, okay, it's just this over and over again. Yeah, you know.
Well, and for one thing, because I don't remember if you explicitly said this when you were setting up the premise for this episode, is most games would not, certainly most good games would not fall into a single one of these 8 buckets. They would have like 2 to 4 of these things, and then maybe even more than that, depending on how big and robust the game is, right? So the fact that it may or may not deliver on a given aesthetic isn't like, oh, we're going to narrow it down, we're going to eventually get to the one, because that's just not how this framework is designed. But the other side of it, or the other thing I want to say is, this does kind of play out like a child's fantasy, because it's like, you know, oh, what would you like to have for dinner? Ice cream. Well, would you like to have that for dinner every night? Every night. And it's like, you haven't really thought this through, have you? I have not, right? Like, hey, tomorrow's Christmas. I wish every day could be Christmas. No, you don't. Like, right? And this is kind of like that. It's like, I want to destroy the city. I wish every day I could destroy a city. Okay, that's going to be the only level in the game. Oh, it's not that fun.
No, it's just like the, you know, a casino where I win, I must be in heaven. A casino where I always win, I must be in hell. Yeah, absolutely. And I think like you said, you know, like most games and most games will actually have all of these. It's just whether or not it's a core aesthetic. So the example that's given by Extra Credits, I think is very apt, and I would struggle to come up with one better on the fly, is like Mario has a narrative. You're not playing that thing for the story, you know? Like you're not playing it for the vast drama in between Mario and Peach and Bowser. That's not what you came to the show for. You know?
I mean, it's what I'm here for, but it's why I don't like Mario games. I'm just kidding.
I just all of a sudden heard like I could hear 1,000 people unsubscribing. Like,
right.
I don't like Mario games and unsubscribed.
Yeah. Or worse, we gained a bunch of subscribers who were like art house trolls. Like, oh, I only play Tetris where all of the pieces are straight and it's only shades of gray. It's like, oh my god.
So does it deliver on fantasy? We'll say tentatively, like mildly yes, or at least that's what it's trying to deliver on.
It's definitely trying, and I would say it does. It's just that for you and I, with our level of games literacy, like, it cannot exist in a vacuum. And as we get to the other ones, there's going to be more X's than checks on this list.
Yep. Which brings us to narrative, which is you know, like the game as story, right? So does it have a provocative or invocative, or, you know, like a story that is worth like looking at like something that you would discuss with friends, you know, like maybe like come up with fan theories, you know.
No.
Nope. There is no story. In fact, that I would make the argument that basically this thing just kind of and again, you know, like it doesn't have to have this, but it just leans on your existing pop culture knowledge of King Kong and Godzilla. If you have never seen or heard of either of those two things, it actually further diminishes the other aesthetics. Like they are just relying that you have that knowledge going in and that you want to be these things, and that's it. You know, I think the narrative that you get is a brief one sentence blurb about George and Lizzie at the very beginning of the episode of the, you know, game, and then that's it.
It's almost like they wanted to make a licensed game but couldn't afford the licenses because the George is obviously the King Kong, right? The
Right.
Lizzie is obviously the Godzilla. I don't know what the arcade game also had the wolf. I don't actually know what that one is based on. Maybe it's just like, what if werewolves but giant? Like I don't actually know what that's a pull on, but I think you nailed it in that, like, if you show up having no idea what King Kong is and what Godzilla is, they're like, oh crap, we really expected you to come in with that foreknowledge, because if you know what those characters are already, you don't need any other explanation. Oh, I know that King Kong eats people out of windows, and I know that, I mean, he grabs the girl. I know, you know, King Kong like swats, you know, down planes on top of buildings. I know Godzilla like wrecks, you know, Tokyo and then later New York, I think. So you would just take it on good faith, like, oh, it's a King Kong, it's a Godzilla. They're doing what King Kongs and Godzillas do. But if you don't have that pop culture knowledge, I mean, maybe the assumption is like, if you have access to video games, you will have this pop culture knowledge. So it's like they're just taking it on good faith that you couldn't have one without the other. But
well, and it was definitely common for games of this time to rely on that on the players' base knowledge going in, you know,
or on
like,
instruction manual, because I mean, like is often the case, you know, we have a cobbled together collection of nonsense, so it's like maybe there's, you know, 20 interesting well-written chapters by Mr. Stephen King in the instruction manual. Like we don't know.
Yeah, we wouldn't know, but does it, but I mean, and again, you know, like the kind of bare bones narrative, I don't think that not only does it not deliver on narrative, it's not trying. Like there's no attempt. This is something that everybody on the team said, this is not what this game is about. Like there is no story, and especially the fact that there are 128 levels, and I mean, that's it. You know, there's 128 levels. Like there's no, that's all that they did. So it's just kind of like, so no, it does not deliver. No, they're not attempting to. So next on the list is, and I think that this is where we're going to get into some of the meaty mechanics that we were talking about, is a challenge. So, you know, game as like obstacle course, right? Is the way that they framed it in extra credits. And again, I would fail to come up with something better on the fly, but it's just kind of like, you know, does it deliver? Mario is a great example of like a challenge based game, you know,
Also the obstacle course metaphor.
Yes, exactly. So is this game trying to deliver on challenge, and does it deliver on challenge?
It is definitely going for challenge, but because we specifically played the NES port, it absolutely fails on challenge in a way I don't think I've ever come across before. And I'm not saying that this is rare. It's just that like games from this super early like direct port of an arcade were not my core aesthetic. So I don't know how often they said, oh, well, we'll just lift the quarters out. And then every time you press A, it's as if you put another quarter in. So it's like you're Richie Rich playing this video game, right? And it's just, there's a mechanical problem with making that decision, because you have now said, the challenge is that you have to be, you know, eating people and smashing buildings and avoiding bombs and trying not to get shot too much by like the army guys, and trying not to eat too much toilet water because it slows you down, and like otherwise you're going to die. And like once you run out of quarters, then you're not going to get to destroy all of America. And that would be bad, apparently.
It is the lose condition.
It is. But if you are playing on the NES like we did, and you just keep pressing A, you just get back up with full life and your score doesn't even reset. So like there is It's not that there's no penalty, it's that you are actually incentivized to just be a reckless idiot because it's the fastest way to play.
Yes, exactly. I mean, like, and I think that the game, especially the arcade cabinet, definitely challenge was one of the core aesthetics. And I think that this choice shows like lack of foresight, planning, knowledge. Like I think that this was a poor decision because it just takes the challenge. Now difficulty and challenge are not the same thing, but it takes the challenge of the game and strips it all away. And the reason why I think that it was just a poor ham-handed decision is because, one, there's a million different ways that you could attack this, right? You could obviously lives is typically what they went with, and if you're like, oh well, there's no way that anybody's ever going to get to see all 128 levels on any number of lives, you add in a password system, and then bam, you're good,
Or continues, but when you continue, your score resets to 0.
And that's the other thing that I think that, because if they just had your score reset every time you hit X, there would still be challenge, right? And then that would actually be kind of a nice way to do it, because, like, for instance, you and myself, where we're just kind of like, yeah, I don't really care about score, or what have you. So we would just you can basically opt out of that challenge, is you're just like, I don't care about the score. But if you're like, no, I actually want to challenge myself with score, and that would actually enhance one of the other core aesthetics, competition, right? Is because, like, I could play and see how high I could get my score, and then I hand it off to a friend and then see how high they could get their score, and so on and so forth, right? But the fact that they just lifted it out and did it in like the most bizarre way possible, and this is definitely something that they were trying to deliver on, I think kind of shows poor planning. And I think that it hints at the fact that of what we kind of see throughout the game, we've seen it so far with the visuals, is that they just ripped this out of the arcade cabinet, put it onto a cartridge in the hope to just make a buck, basically.
Well, and
I mean,
I do kind of wonder, like, in trying to give the benefit of the doubt to designers of this time, because the ports, they're ports, right? Because in modern games, like, you can take a game that was built and for all intents and purposes is like a Windows game, but because of the engine it was built on, you just like press a button and it essentially recompiles it for Mac, right? And you can more or less do the same thing with like the modern Xbox and the modern PlayStation, because they're based on the same processors, which means they can execute functionally identical code. So, like, porting a game from one system to another is not the work that it used to be, even just a generation ago, let alone 30 years ago. But when you look at moving an arcade game to the Nintendo, like, everything got worse, because it's not really that they took the code and put it on a Nintendo cartridge. Like, they had to rebuild this game, right? So someone had to draw all new art assets, and they had to make all new sound effects with the Nintendo's hardware, and they had to, have a different aspect ratio on the screen, because arcade cabinets usually had custom monitors in them, and they had to program the interactions, because I guarantee you there was not a Nintendo controller on the arcade cabinet. Like,
probably not. Yeah.
right? So the reason I say all that is because these people essentially were building an entire new game. It's just that they were copying an existing game, which means you can't blame them for lazily saying, oh, we'll just take out the coin mechanic, because they had to build an entire game engine from scratch. So it's not like saying we're going to have a live system is like, oh, well, we'd rather just take out the coin mechanic. Like, there was no coin mechanic. They had to build the game from scratch. So it makes me wonder, was a selling point, and I tell you all that to tell you this, was a selling point going to presumably an adult or like an older teenager and saying, hey, do you like playing Rampage? Would you like to just buy it once and then be able to play as much as you want? Like, that sounds like a legit selling feature. And I think because they were probably hyper focused on, I mean, a new Nintendo game in the 80s was like $70, which in today's money would be like $140, like really, really expensive. So to say to this person, hey, spend this ludicrous amount of money, but only spend it once, and then you can play as much as you want. And they didn't really think about how that actually would maybe completely destroy someone's enjoyment of the game. Part of their enjoyment of the game was I only have 3/4 left, and if I go make change for $1, or if I have to like go home and crack open my piggy bank or dig through the couch cushions, then this game will be done, right? And maybe removing that tension breaks the game in horrible ways.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree that it does. And I didn't mean to, like be, like crap all over the developers.
No, dude, whatever. Just, whatever.
But that being said, is what it smacks me of is somebody said like basically, somebody said, well, we want to do an NES port of this, arcade cabinet, and we're going to spend, I don't know, X amount of money doing it. And everybody's like, we basically have to rebuild this from the ground up. So it will cost 4X monies. And they were like, no, it already exists. Just put it here, X monies. And, so then like, so it just seems like that they were stressed for porting it. And I agree completely that, that the, strain and the, again, like challenge of like, how long can I make this quarter last definitely added to the game. And by just like completely stripping that out, it definitely robbed it of that challenge. So yes, it tries to deliver on challenge and it fails utterly.
Yeah. It's an entire game built around, like most arcade games and games of this era in general, like it's an entire game built around the challenge aesthetic with no challenge, which is just seems like either an oversight if we're being critical, or again, like I'm willing to take the leap of faith that maybe that was an intentional selling point. Like all the Rampage, none of the challenge, and not really being like all the Rampage, none of the fun, like none of the thing people came here for. So like, maybe they did it on purpose, kind of accepting the trade-off, and maybe it was just like, oh crap, what did we do?
Yeah, like all of a sudden, like when they were like, yes, we did this thing, and they're like in their final testing, like they see the kid playing it, and they're like, yeah, the kid's loving it. And after 5 minutes, the kid like puts it down, gets up, and goes reads a book, and they're like, what? And it's like, yeah, man, I'd rather read of War and Peace, man. Like,
at least there were some stakes there.
So next up is Fellowship. So this is like co-op experiences. Like building through like camaraderie. Like this would be for a lot of times for Bartle's taxonomy, like the social players, things like that. So does the game try to, and does it succeed in delivering on Fellowship?
I would say it definitely tries to, and it definitely succeeds. There is no way, at least on the NES cartridge, to play this game competitively. I mean, yeah, you have separate scores, but like you have a single unified objective. And as far as I know, the arcade cabinet and the later releases were the same way. Like if more than one human is playing, you are all serving the same master of, the same Lord of Destruction.
Absolutely. And I think that too, there are some choices, because I unfortunately did not get a chance to play this co-op. But if memory serves, you can actually hit each other. And certainly,
oh yes, you can. I think you're correct.
Yeah, you can hit each other. You do have separate scores, and you, if you like knock down a building while your friend's on it, like they will fall if they don't jump off in time. So there's just enough ways for you to hurt each other that it forces you to like work together. Like because friendly fire's on, it actually, I think, reinforces the Fellowship, because there is an option to not do that, to like punch your friend, or to just be like, hey, I know you need health, but I'm going to eat this health because we have different health bars, right? So like I could like punch in, see some health, and be like, hey, you need health, come get it. So then I'll drop down and then run over and, continue my rampage because I'm at full health. So I think that it absolutely delivers on that through some very smart choices that are, again, immediately robbed when you remove the coin op, right? Because I don't need to coordinate with you for health. I'll just die, that's fine, because then I just press a button and I get back up. I don't need to worry about punching you. I can punch you silly, because then press a button and you get back up. So I don't think it robs it completely. I was being a little hyperbolic, but it takes a lot out of it because
it sucks the challenge part of the fellowship out.
Right, because like it requires so much less coordination because you're not playing with live ammo. Like again, unless you are artificially putting challenge on there to say like, hey, we're going to try to not hit continue as much as possible or something like that. You're not trying to make these quarters last. You're not trying to not hit continue. You're not even trying to boost up your score. You're just, playing the game. So basically, you play for about 5 minutes and then no doubt, like if I accidentally hit somebody, I'm like, oh, oops. Not like, oh, dude, come on, you got to do better, man. We got to pull together. We got to win this. So I feel that again, dropping that one core aesthetic rippled out and kind of like hit a lot of their other core aesthetics on its way.
Yeah, the removing the challenge so completely, like not just saying we made it easier or even it was hard and we made it easy, but saying there are no stakes. There is nothing at risk. You will lose nothing. It is as if you are a flawless player. It's not like it tells you how many times you died and you had to like respawn or that you flew back in holding onto the blimp. Like there are no visual, auditory, sensory penalties of any kind. And the ripples from that boulder falling into the lake reach far.
Yep. So it does, but with that being said, though, I think that it does try to deliver on Fellowship, and I definitely think the original arcade port did, or the original arcade game did very well, and I think that this one still does. It's just it is a shell of its former self.
It is. It delivers on Fellowship, but it doesn't. Without the challenge, kind of like the fantasy is a little hollow without more variation. In the mechanics and in the gameplay in general, the Fellowship is very shallow without the challenge or any stakes of any kind.
Absolutely. So then next up is competition. So this is humans on humans, humans trying to say, like be better than other humans. So does it try to, and does it successfully deliver on that?
So this, I think of our aesthetics we've hit so far, I would say it is not trying to deliver on that, but I think it accidentally could because if there's friendly fire, which I'm like really close to positive that you're right, but I also did not get to play this multiplayer. If there's friendly fire, then you can make this a competitive game where you are going after some health, like you're going to eat a person out of a window, and I come and knock your dumb lizard ass to the ground. Well, I guess you would be George the gorilla, obviously. I come and knock your dumb gorilla ass to the ground, right? Like that is a thing we could do. And then because there are no stakes in terms of death, we can decide as two players, we are fighting over score. Like I want a higher score than you. And because like we both kind of collaboratively decide when the level ends, there's some interesting ways we could choose to compete, but that's not the intention of the game, and that's only possible in a world where we are immortal monsters who can never die.
Exactly. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, which is that, and I think that is that you can artificially, it gives you the negative space to artificially add challenge or add competition on top of it, but it does not try to, and I don't think that it does deliver on that because, it's kind of like, does watching Aladdin get you drunk? Well, no, unless you add a drinking game to it, then it absolutely can, So but one of the things Aladdin is not trying to do is get you drunk by virtue of watching it.
Yeah, no, that's an oddly specific metaphor that I will ask you more about off the air.
You played the Aladdin drinking game.
Did we?
Oh yeah, no, because remember
did I lose so badly? I just have no memories.
Yes, because it's horrifying. Like there's a whole bunch of like rules. And there weren't there was 3 or 4, but like the only one that matters is
every time the genie references like a thing like outside their.
It's chronologically or spatially like incongruous,
Yeah.
right?
So he's like Jack Nicholson, or he makes Abu look like the Cadillac.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
God, no. How are we not dead?
I know, right? Like, because I remember like the genie shows up and pausing it and being like, everybody refresh your drink. It's about to get increasingly real.
Yeah. And
And
it's
then-
only going to get realer. Like this is the least real, and it's only going to go up from here.
Yeah, you're about to have a huge drinking spike. But anyways,
Yeah. That is a young man's game. That is
absolutely.
old people or people with sensitive constitutions should not play the Aladdin drinking game.
Nope, not at all. But so anyway, so I would say no and no on competition. Discovery. So this was like uncovering the game, the act of uncovering the game. Is that a reason why you play it? And interestingly, a lot of the times, people think of discovery as like going like opening up a map, but also discovering new mechanics within a game. So Minecraft is a good example of like where the mechanics open up, or like emergent gameplay situations. One could make the argument that Darkest Dungeon delivers on discovery because it intentionally completely like occludes your vision of the entire scope of the game. So like as you're finding these new emergent ways that terrible things are happening to you, that's part of the reason why you would go to the game. So does this game try to, and does it succeed in delivering on discovery?
I gotta say no and no. Like they're not attempting to hide anything from you or reveal things over time intentionally on level design, mechanics, artwork, audio. Like basically you see the first screen and you have now seen 99% of the game, and then a few of the levels have like mountains in the background. Like you go to Boulder, Colorado, and there's mountains, and I appreciated that because I live near there. And there's like a few of the levels have bridges that collapse when you walk on them, and there's water that you sink in. But those mechanics aren't obscured from you in a way that you like discover. There's certainly no thrill of discovery. And
right, it's just like a thing that happens.
And again, that pool is super shallow. So the like two things visually and mechanically that are not present in the first like 5 levels show up in the next 5, and then like that's about it. That's where changes stop.
Well, and so as far as does it deliver, I agree. No, it does not deliver on this. For whether or not they're trying to, the only counter argument I would say is that, because I would agree with you if not for this one thing, which is like at some point, I think it may be during one of the bumps in between, because in between each level, it'll say like, do you want to stop eating terrible things? Punch slower and all that kind of stuff, One of the things it says is there's 128 levels in Rampage. Try to play them all. And that to me is them trying to sell you on like, oh man, there's 128 levels. You got to check them all out, man. Like look at how expensive this game is, and it's just kind of like, yeah, but they're all the same, and like we said, like it there's nothing special about any of them. There's no reason to check out level 128 because level 1 and level 128 are going to be exactly the same. So I actually think that they kind of are trying to deliver on discovery, or at least they're trying to sell you on it, but they just, again, because there is no difference and
removing that challenge thing, man, because like I can totally agree with you that the bait of there's 128 levels, see if you're King Kongy enough to experience them all, even though they're functionally identical. Getting to them is the mechanical challenge because you have to keep pumping quarters in, or you have to be really good at the game, right? When you remove the challenge element, it's like 128 blank pages. Inspect each one pointlessly. Like it makes there's no thrill of the chase when there's no chase and no thrill.
So basically what this did was it took reading books, which is normally something very enjoyable, but it handed them all to Toph.
So I actually, my old boss, he like academically studies like the nature of fun.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if he's ever listened to the show, but he's like a real sourpuss, so I'm sure he would just crap all over everything we've ever said. But
bummer.
But I'm about to give him, he's just that kind of person. But I'm about to give him a thumbs up to a funny thing he did. Amazon will let you like print, you can like self-publish a book through Amazon, and they'll print a physical book. So on Amazon right now, and I will actually put a link to this in the show notes because it's kind of funny if you just want to leave this on your coffee table to like mess with people when they come to your house. He wrote like, I can't remember the exact title, but it's like the definitive guide to fun. And it's like 200 solid black pages. There's not a single word written inside this book.
See, now for the self-publishing thing, I want to get on there and just print a book that's how to communicate with people from Steven Universe. And I just wanted to have those 2 pages.
The 2 pages. Think about what you want to say it.
Say it. Yeah.
No, I would buy that if that existed.
Yeah, I think I might have to throw some money on that. And that's something I would keep on my coffee table, because that's something that anytime when somebody's like, hey, so can we talk about something? I just hand them the book, be like, here, read this real fast. And then yes.
Yeah. But I just want to make sure you're clear, and so that the audience is clear. These are not like 200 blank pages. These are inked
black.
They're white pages that have black ink from top to bottom.
Just because
it's fun.
Excellent. Well, so anyway, that's to bring it back. That's that one line is where it makes me think that like, no, you were trying to be like, oh, look at how immersive and it's very similar to like games today that tell you about how big and immersive their world is, but there's nothing in it to do, you know? Oh my God, it's like what was the name of it's not Horizon Zero Dawn. It's what was the one where it had like 10 trillion procedurally generated planets? The poster child for, there's a lot of it, but I don't want to see any of it. That, in fact, is called No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky. There it is. Yeah. No, it's like that, where it's just kind of like, wow, look at all of these, all this raw surging water makes me wonder why I should give a damn. Like, it's just... It's that. It's just kind of like, look at all this stuff, and I just can't possibly care about it.
Yeah, no, it's 200 solid black pages. Like, it's just, it's like you saw the first one. The other ones might be a slightly different shade of black if the machine was running low on ink, but like, I'm not here for that. And that's what I mean. Like, everything changed. You wouldn't think removing the one mechanic of the threat of death would change everything into the tightest corners way on the edges of this game design, but it does. It just screws it all up.
It does. No, and actually, because that's I think speaks to how well this model works as far as analyzing games, because, you know, like you said, like games will deliver on like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, right? You know, but like this one, the challenge was the cornerstone, you know? And so by lifting that out, it just immediately, like everything else, even though like like we could say like Fantasy and Fellowship were like right up there, like next to it, you pulled that main one out and then like everything falls apart. So next up is expression. So this is games that allow you to express some part of yourself. This would be definitely like I mean, obviously Dungeons and Dragons would fall right nicely into this. But also games where, you know, like typically ones that like have a karma bar, you know, where you can like kind of like be a really good person or be a really evil person, you know, like things that allow you to express some portion of yourself.
So differentiate this from fantasy for me. So I'm living out the fantasy of being King Kong, but I'm expressing the good parts of my personality if I play Fallout and I give the guy who's dying of thirst water, right?
Right. So like Fallout, it's the difference between, you know, like I'm playing this game because I want to be a wasteland wanderer, or I'm playing this game because I want to express myself through gameplay, you know? So, for example, The Last of Us would be potentially one where you could say that it delivers on fantasy, it does not deliver on expression.
Oh, because you don't really get to choose how Joel acts. Like
Correct.
things more or less just happen.
Right. So it absolutely delivers on fantasy or Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So like it absolutely delivers on fantasy. Like you're in their shoes. You want to well, I don't know if you want to be them, but you are them. But you know, like you can't express yourself in any way.
Okay.
So does this game try to, and does it successfully deliver on expression?
I mean, based on that understanding, I would say I like that big like from off camera thumbs down. Like no.
No.
I wouldn't say they are. It definitely doesn't deliver on it, but I wouldn't say they're even trying to. Like I think more in the vein of expecting everyone to have the shared cultural knowledge of what King Kong is and what he's about and what Godzilla is and what he's about. Yeah, like they're kind of saying like we expect you to do these things and behave in this way, and if you don't want to do that, maybe don't play this, right? Like if you have a fear of falling from tall buildings, and every time the little avatar of the woman in the high window falls all the way down to the ground, you like freak out. You can't catch her and save her, and then she redeems your soul, and then you decide to stop destroying New York City. Like that's not what this is.
Right. No, and I would say that the game is kind of pigeonholed enough to the point where there's really no expression, because like even if you made the argument, you know, that you're like, I am deciding that I am a good monster and I want to play through this game, like, I mean, it doesn't even have, even in the later, well, like let's take Fallout for example, like, you know, Fallout 1 and 2, you could do Doctor Who mode and never kill anybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they slowly start to remove that type of expression because they kind of, again, like get narrower and narrower on how you have to play the game, where you have to be violent at some point.
Although
you know?
that specific example has one of my all-time favorite player workarounds, where players who wanted to beat like Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 4 as a pacifist, there are characters that have to be murdered for the game to allow you to progress, because they decided to force you to do that, which I think was a bad design choice in that specific universe. But you can kite those people to where there are friendly NPCs or other aggressive monsters, and they will do the murdering for you. So
Yep. So just like the Doctor.
yeah, pretty much. So that maybe that's what they were like. We need a more authentic Doctor Who mode.
But yeah, so I mean, like, but there is no way to do that in this game. You know, you can't decide, hey, I'm going to try to play it on pacifist mode, or I'm going to try to, you know, basically do anything other than smash buildings and eat people. If you're not in it to smash buildings and eat people, you're playing the wrong game. That's what this game does.
Which
this is the smash buildings and eat people simulator.
Yeah, but unlike some of the other, pretty much all of the other aesthetics we talked about, like I don't fault them for that, and I wouldn't fault most designers for passing on expression. Like most games, I think, are either narrative, like we have a story that we want to tell, or are just like it's a mechanics driven game. Like you're here to play football, you're here to smash buildings and eat people, right? Like they're not trying to create a universe in which you decide if you're going to be moral or if you're going to be evil. And the games that do that, that is like their main selling point. Like Fallout is very loud about having the karma system, and like Mass Effect was very loud about having the tree choices, whatever the hell they called it. And like the
Dragon Age Origins is another example of like one that gives you a lot of expression and has a strong narrative.
All the Morrowind games have a really strong narrative, just like the Mass Effect games, but also, and the Fallout games, but also are like, you can decide to be a neutral person, a good person, a bad person, maybe some other options are sometimes present.
Different classes.
Yeah. So I think the games that care a lot about that, like, go out of their way to be like, here we are, here is where you get to be part of the story and decide how the story goes. And I would say if you lined up every single video game ever made, that's most likely in the minority. Most games, I think, are like, this is what this game's about.
I agree. I think that games, especially games that try to deliver on narrative and expression, have to be very tightly focused to those core aesthetics. Like they have to really just be like, this is what we're delivering on. We want to deliver a strong story where you also get to express yourself as an individual through that story. And we're just going to kind of like let everything else drop out, like, I mean, like, and again, they'll have all of these things. Like you can still like have really stunning visuals and all sorts of stuff. But it's like, but no, if this is what we're focusing on. If another core aesthetic clashes with that we're trying to deliver on clashes with this, it auto loses, like we're tying the hands of every other aesthetic. This is what we're delivering on. Otherwise you end up with like, and we've seen it in like all of these tons of bad clones and things that do stuff like that, where it if you don't have that laser focus on those two things, then the game starts to really fall apart and get finicky pretty quickly. But no, I don't think that they're even making an attempt to deliver on expression. So, which is good, because I mean, again, like not all games have to, and not all games should try to deliver on all of these. Like again, there is a very, very few subset of them that actually deliver strongly on more than 4. And even then, those games, it's like games within games, like it's those are shooting the moon. You want to just abandon some of them to be like, nope, we're not, this is not a game about expression. So no on expression, and good on them for not trying.
Well, and I think another thing that I don't think we explicitly stated is that none of these are like value judgments, right? Like having a certain aesthetic is not good or bad. Having more aesthetics is not good. Having fewer aesthetics is not bad. Or the reverse, right? Like these are not genres, but they're almost like, oh, this is this type of game. It has this challenge aesthetic, a competition aesthetic, a fellowship aesthetic, right? So a game can be or not be any combination of these things, and it could be one thing and be a great game, or be several things and be a terrible game. So like this is a classification system in like an academic scientific design sense. It is in no way a value judgment. And the reason I say that is because we're coming up on that all important question soon.
We have one more. And I think that you hit the nail on the head. To me, it's kind of like what we've discussed in an earlier episode, which is, to me, it is not a failure to not try to deliver on something and successfully not try to deliver on something. It's when you are trying to deliver on an aesthetic and failing, where it's like that. To me, it's like that's where, because then, and again, no judgments. I mean, you learn best through your failures, but you have to acknowledge it's like we tried to do a thing and we were not successful on it. So the last aesthetic is abnegation. So this is,
I love that word so much.
I know, right? No, it's such a great word. So this is a game that you just go, you play to zone out. For me, the pinnacle example of this is Friends. Like the sitcom.
Oh, like your like security media, like it's just on and you're just like, yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, this is nice. Like, I'll just come in and like, normally on the weekends when like I'm eating lunch and like I want to focus on eating because the food I've made is delicious and I don't want my attention drawn to like some like new thing I'm trying to pay attention to. I was putting an episode of Friends because like that's enjoyable, but it does not really pull my focus. So abnegation, does this game try to, and does it succeed on delivering on abnegation?
So this is the one place I would say the NES port is overwhelmingly triumphant compared to its arcade brethren.
But again, the problem is that they're not trying to deliver on abnegation, but by releasing this cornerstone, all the rubble falls into the pile of abnegation.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean, they are not trying to be like, oh, yeah, man, just chill out and play some Rampage. They're trying to be like, oh, my God, it's just like the arcade game, but in your house, Rampage. But instead, it's like, hey, man, just chill out and play some Rampage.
Yeah, Rampage and chill, man. Just like just sit there and throw on some Rampage. Because, I mean, that's the thing is that, like, honestly, when I was playing this, I today, like I was just hanging out with Teddy, and I was like, oh, I need to do this and take notes on it. Again, just like refresh myself. And yeah, I was just kind of like, I could throw on some Rampage, play for about 10 minutes, that'd be fun. And it actually did, like, I'm not being facetious, like that felt like, I was like, that could be a fun thing to do. It's just to throw this on for about 10 minutes and then be completely done with it. And I think that even that would wane over time just because you always start on level 1. Like if there was like a password system that allowed you to jump around, I'd say that would, but again, that's not in there because they were not trying to deliver on abnegation. If they were, then this kind of system would probably have been in there because they would have been like, well, if they're just trying to chill out. If you got to be able to select your Friends episode. I wouldn't be able to passively watch Friends if I always had to start on season 1, episode 1.
Well, and like the gaming example that jumps to mind for me, where they were not trying to deliver on abnegation originally and then super decided to go the other direction, is any of the band simulators. So Guitar Hero, Rock Band, there were others, even like DDR, I think eventually went this way, where in the early versions of those games, at least the popular ones, like the original Guitar Hero games and the first Rock Band, like there was like a story. You had to like unlock later songs. And then by the, third and fourth and fifth revision of these games, which let's face it, are all the exact same friggin' game, just with a different track list, they were like, hey, the code to unlock all the songs is starting the game. And then you just have all of the songs in the game unlocked, because they realized no one is here for the narrative. Or such a vanishingly small portion of people are here for the narrative that we can essentially ignore them, because we know they're also here for the challenge and they're also here for the fantasy, and we can just ignore the narrative because, oh my God, who cares, right? So those evolved into abnegation games intentionally and thoughtfully, and given only the 2 examples of Rampage and Rock Band, you can see the difference between when it's done on purpose and when it's done by accident.
Exactly. No, I agree completely. Is that, and again, this is just, it's one of the things that's, I don't know if this is ubiquitous, but it's very common in my industry, which is it's say what you do what you say, document it, right? So this is kind of like somewhere where it's just kind of like set out to do a thing and do it, and so it's just kind of like the things that they set out to do, they did not do. And then some of the things they didn't set out to do, they did do. And so thus it wasn't done well. It just kind of like happened. And so again, you're just kind of like, I would love to just rack up the points in abnegation, but it falls short because there's no password system, because I can't just turn this on and play some Rampage, because eventually I'm going to get tired of playing the first 3 levels, So yeah. So then that does bring us, to full circle. Does it hold up? But before we answer that, I'm going to do a quick recap on the scorecard we got here.
Oh, have you also been keeping score? I'm going to wonder how, because I came up with a little scoring system.
Oh, mine was probably way not as as good, because mine's super bare bones. But I basically wrote down all the ones that we thought that they were trying to deliver on, and then, or all the ones where we said that they themselves did not pass on, and then whether or not they did deliver on it. So for fantasy, we said yes, they were trying to deliver on fantasy, and they did an okay job. Challenge, they were absolutely trying to deliver on that and failed completely. For fellowship, they were trying to deliver on it and did an adequate job, except for the fact that it's immediately spoiled by the fact that by removing the challenge, it also impacts fellowship. Discovery, that they were trying to deliver on that to some degree, but fail again because of the impact of challenge, and the fact that there's no password system and everything looks the same. And finally, abnegation, they were not trying to deliver on that, but they succeeded kind of. So that was my final score. Did you come up with something similar?
Yeah, my scoring is similar. I did like a minus, neutral, plus. So failed to deliver, yeah, and then a plus. And I knew that I had screwed myself into a bad ranking system when in 3 different places I had to do a neutral circle with a plus or a minus in it. And I was just I'm looking at my score sheet and I'm like, this is what happens when you're deciding how you're going to rank gold medalists at the Olympics, while they're competing.
This is what happens when you haven't decided to make a concerted effort in a specific direction at the outset. Instead, you just kind of haphazardly do things, and it evolves over time, like the game Rampage.
Yes. See, that's what I did. I was how can I come up with a metaphor during the episode that shows how the design process, when not taken seriously, can lead to a shoddy product, and the shoddy product is circles and dashes.
There you go. So you see, actually, your note system is the best because it is the best reflection of the game. Right. So very well done, and totally intentional.
Scoring wise, we're in agreement about what they were trying to do, what they delivered and the things they did by accident. So we are, ranking system aside, like we're in agreement about that, which then here we go. Brings us to that question. Does it hold up? And no. And
Nope.
like if you played this game as a kid, the Nintendo one, and you played it with someone else, and you can still play it with someone else, then I would give this a solid nostalgia monocle. And I would be like, just try and put yourself back into the mind of child you with your, maybe even the same friend if you've known them all your life, and just play Rampage and like have a little nostalgia experience. And like that is totally a fine way to spend some of your time, even a lot of your time if you're into it. But could I recommend this to someone now who's never played it? Absolutely not. Like under no circumstances. But could I recommend the arcade cabinet if you actually had to pump quarters in, or if you had like a live system, if it was like a hacked arcade cabinet that you bought, or something? Like, yeah, totally. But without the challenge element, the core that all in the soul, the
Cornerstone.
the truth on the other side of the gate, right? Like without that one element in the NES port, it's just a sad shadow of the original arcade game.
Oh, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. Is that by virtue of removing, and this just kind of shows that when you're not really taking a hard look at what you're trying to do, and you accidentally, because we kind of said that they tried to deliver on 4 different aesthetics, which is ambitious for a game of this time, right? Even if we're wrong, 3 is still pretty hard, but because they weren't focused in on their biggest and most important one, challenge, and they made that oversight, it just completely, like I think your announcer is, it rippled out, and it just impacted every other aesthetic in a negative fashion, And then again, the only one that affected positively, they weren't able to capitalize on that because this was not a carefully made decision.
So it's almost like when designing the game, they went on a rampage.
The curtain falls, the music plays, the credits roll, then it all fades to black, and you're left by yourself. The fanfare is gone, there's no player 2 there by your side to share victories won. But as you slowly progress down the hall to your bed, a few great events leak back into your head from the time that you spent traversing the land, battling evil, fighting the darkness, just sword in hand. Your memories creep in with the edge of a smile.